The sky burned red above planet Juno 9. Captain Ryle stood on the edge of a cracked hill, his boots sinking slightly into the soft black soil. Smoke rose in the distance where someone had crash-landed. He adjusted the scanner on his wrist, tracking the energy signal pulsing from the crash site. "Not human tech," he muttered, eyes narrowed. "Organic shell, unknown design." He walked toward the glow, hand on his sidearm, ready for anything. As he got closer, he saw the wreckage twisted, smooth, and alive-looking. The ship wasn't built, it was grown. A part of it was still breathing, releasing puffs of steam like an injured beast. Inside, something moved. Cautiously, Ryle stepped through the broken hull, the metal flesh ship groaning under his feet. He raised his light, and that's when he saw her. She was lying on the floor, covered in silvery blue blood. Her limbs too long to be human, her skin pale with faint patterns that shimmered like stars. But her eyes were deep green, glowing, full of fear. Then she spoke, her voice trembling but clear. "Don't eat me, human." Ryle blinked, caught off guard. That was the last thing he expected her to say. He gave a slow, calm smile and replied, "Not like you think." She flinched, trying to crawl away, but she was too weak. Ryle lowered his weapon, holding up one hand to show peace. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. "You crashed hard. You need help. You're one of them," she whispered, eyes wide. "I should have burned my brain before they found me." "I don't know who they are," Ryle said, stepping closer, "but I'm not with anyone. I'm alone." A sharp pain flashed through her side, and she winced, clutching her ribs. Ryle noticed a deep gash there, glowing slightly. "Not healing, I can patch that," he offered. Reaching into his medkit, she didn't move, didn't resist, but didn't trust him either as he treated her wound. She kept watching him, like a cornered animal. "You're not like the others," she said quietly. "You don't smell of blood, thanks." Ryle said, unsure if that was a compliment. There was silence for a while. Just the sounds of the forest outside, distant howls, wind whistling through alien trees. Then she asked, "Why did you help me?" Ryle didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked at the stars above, then back at her. "Because you're alive," he said simply, "and you're scared." She turned her head, blinking slowly. "My name is Lyra," she said at last. "Captain Ryle of Earth Federation," he replied. "Earth," she echoed, like tasting the word, "the war ... Is it over?" "What war?" he asked. "The one we started?" she whispered. "We were told you eat what you conquer." Ryle raised an eyebrow, amused and a little sad. "Not anymore," he said. "At least, some of us have learned." Suddenly, a beeping sound came from her arm, a small embedded device, blinking red. Ryle grabbed her wrist, scanning it. "A tracker," he said, frowning. "You were being followed." She looked up at him with panic in her eyes. "They'll come," she said, voice shaking. "If they find me with you, they'll kill us both." Ryle stood up, eyes scanning the sky. "Then we better move fast," he said. He helped her to her feet. Supporting her weight, together they left the crashed ship, disappearing into the glowing woods, above them, in orbit. Something shifted, a shadow moving behind the moon. The hunter had found its prey, but this time, the prey was not alone. Captain Ryle walked through the glowing forest with Lyra leaning on his shoulder. Her body was cold and her breath shallow, but her eyes burned with silent fire. They had left the crash behind, but not the danger. The forest around them whispered secrets through the air. Soft glowing vines moved like snakes, in slow motion, brushing their legs as they passed. Lyra was quiet for a long time, until she finally spoke. "You should have left me there." Ryle looked at her with a tired smirk. "I do not leave people behind. I am not people," she said, with a sharp glance. I am the reason they will come. What do you mean by they? Lyra paused and looked toward the red sky. I did something unforgivable to them. I saved a human child during the war. They called it betrayal. I called it a choice now. I am marked Ryle. Helped her sit on a rock under a tree that pulsed with dim light. You do not seem like a soldier. I was a scientist, she said, with sadness in her voice. I studied your kind before the war began. I wanted peace. They wanted weapons, so you ran, Ryle asked, as he scanned the area for heat signals. Yes, she answered, but I did not escape. They let me flee. Why? So they could hunt me and learn where I go, who I speak to, who I trust. That means they are watching us now. She nodded slowly. Her tracking implant was still blinking beneath her skin. Ryle tried to disable it, but the tech was too advanced for his kit. He cursed under his breath and stood up. We need to move again, no, Lyra said firmly. They are not here to capture me. They want to erase me, and now you are part of that. Why would they care about me, Ryle asked. Because you helped me. They will see you as infected, contaminated human and alien sharing trust. That is their greatest fear. Ryle stared at her for a long moment. His thoughts ran wild. Who were these people who would hunt their own for showing mercy? He had seen war. He had seen cruelty, but this felt worse. This felt personal. He checked the sky again. His scanner picked up a faint energy surge coming from orbit. A ship had arrived. They are here, he said quietly. Lyra stood slowly, her legs still weak, but steady. We can still hide, no. Ryle shook his head. We stop running. We make them come to us. That is suicide. It is a trap. Exactly, he gave her a look, one she recognized as the kind soldiers give before doing something insane back at the crash site. There were old weapons, power cells, scrap tech. I can build something, buy us time, make them bleed. Lyra hesitated, then finally nodded. You are different, Ryle. Most humans fight for survival. You fight for meaning. Ryle did not respond. He was already moving. The hours passed fast. Ryle worked on building traps while Lyra used her knowledge to mask their energy signatures. They did not speak much, only worked, only listened, only watched the shadows grow longer. That night, as Ryle finished planting a trip mine near the ridge, he heard something move, not the forest this time. Something heavy, slow, a presence. He raised his rifle eyes, scanning the trees, then he saw it. A figure tall and armored in deep obsidian metal. The hunter, its helmet was smooth with no face. Its arms crackled with purple light. It said nothing, only raised its weapon before it could fire. One of Ryle's traps activated. A shock pulse burst from the ground. The hunter staggered but did not fall. It turned its head slightly, as if amused. Ryle backed away slowly. He returned to Lyra, who was already holding a strange glowing stone. It is a mind jammer, she said. It will hide us for now. They won't see or hear us, but only for 1 hour. What happens after that? He asked. Then they bring the others, and when they come, Ryle asked. Lyra looked at him with a calm voice. Then we stop being prey and become something they fear. The forest changed after midnight. It no longer whispered. It listened. Captain Ryle sat against a stone wall built from alien roots that grew in circles like veins frozen in time. His weapon rested on his lap, and his eyes stayed open despite the weight in his bones. Lyra was asleep nearby, her breath steady but shallow, her body glowing faint blue beneath the surface of her skin. Above them, the sky pulsed with 3 moons, all half full, all watching. Then the first voice came. It was not a sound. It was a thought. Ryle. He turned his head slowly, rifle raised, but no one was there. Only trees, only shadows. He stood quietly and stepped away from the shelter, scanning the trees one by one. The scanner on his wrist blinked, but showed no life forms. Then the voice came again, softer this time, but clearer. Ryle, he froze. It was not Lyra's voice. It was someone else. Someone he had not heard in a long time. His mother. She had died on Earth 5 years ago in the plague, but the voice was hers, gentle, sad, calling his name the way she did when he was a child, hiding during thunder. Ryle, you should have stayed home. You do not belong out here. You are not a hero. He took another step forward, his hands trembling, his heart pounding. He whispered back, this is not real. This is not real. The trees around him pulsed with faint blue light, and the ground beneath him breathed like lungs under pressure. The forest was alive. Not just growing, but thinking, remembering, repeating. He turned back to return to Lyra, but the path had changed. The trees were not where they had been. The stone was gone. The roots were moving. Ryle. This time, it was a different voice, one he knew well, his old commander dead in battle, shouting orders, yelling his name, accusing him of failure. You left them behind, Ryle. You let them die on Titan 8. You always run, you always survive. You never save anyone, Ryle screamed, and fired his rifle blindly at the trees, but the laser hit nothing. Only echoes answered him behind him. Someone grabbed his shoulder. He spun around to shoot, but it was Lyra. Her face was calm, but her eyes were filled with light. They speak to you too, she said. Ryle dropped his rifle and backed away, breathing hard. What is this place? She looked around slowly, as if the trees were listening. It is called the Gravewood. It is old, older than war, older than memory. It feeds on thought. It finds your pain and makes you hear it. Then why did we come here? Ryle asked. Because they won't follow us here, she said. They fear the forest more than they fear you or me, but it is killing me. No, it is showing you. Showing me what? That you are not empty. That you still feel. Ryle sat down again, hands shaking, eyes full of ghosts. I saw my mother. She blamed me. Lyra sat beside him, placing her hand on his. I saw my sister. She begged me not to go. But I left. We all carry ghosts. The forest only opens the door. It does not decide what walks through it. The scanner blinked again, but now it showed something new. 3 life forms approaching from the north, not ghosts, not voices, real. They found us. Ryle said no. Lyra stood and pointed to the sky. They found the edge of the forest, but they cannot see us here. Not yet. One wrong move, and they will. What do? We wait, we listen, we let the forest speak, then we use it. How Lyra's eyes burned with quiet rage. The same way it speaks to us, we will make it speak to them. The Gravewood stood still under the pale green glow of its ancient sky. Not even the wind moved now. Ryle sat with his head low, breathing heavy, hands still cold from what the forest had shown him. Lyra stood over him, her fingers lightly brushing her own skin, where her veins glowed like silver threads beneath the surface. She closed her eyes and pressed her palm against his chest, just above his heart. You are bleeding inside. Ryle blinked and pulled away. It is just a bruise. No, 'tis more than that. Lyra stared at him, her voice soft but unshaking. Your organs are failing from the stress. The Gravewood is too strong for you. You are breaking down. I am fine, Ryle said, though even he knew it was a lie. His muscles ached in strange ways, and his vision flickered at the edges, like light seen through smoke. Lyra turned and picked up a small blade made of bone and crystal. She slid it across her own palm. Ryle reached forward to stop her. What are you doing? But she had already done it. Silver blood oozed from the cut, thick and shimmering like melted stars. She took his hand and smeared the blood across his skin. It burned at first, then turned cold, then warm again like sunlight through water. Ryle gasped as the pain in his chest faded. The tremble in his fingers stopped. He looked at her wide-eyed. What did you do? She sat down beside him, breathing slower, now weaker. That is the secret. They hunt my blood, heals human tissue. Your body accepts it without rejection. You are not the first I have helped, but you may be the last. Ryle stared at the glowing marks on his arm, where her blood had touched the skin. There looked new, untouched, like it had never known pain. Why can you do this? I do not know. I was born during a convergence event. Stars aligned and something ancient touched my people. They called it a blessing. The High Council called it a weapon, so they tried to own, you know. They tried to clone me, use me, break me into vials and syringes and battlefield miracles. Ryle stood up, anger boiling in his chest. You saved lives and they punished you for it. She nodded slowly, eyes heavy. They believe weakness spreads through mercy. They believe peace is infection. Then we prove them wrong, Ryle said. She smiled at that, but there was no victory in her smile. Only sorrow. There is more. Ryle, what? Her eyes locked onto his. When I share my blood, I see what you see. Your mind opens to mine, your memories pass through me like dreams. I never lived. Ryle took a step back, his heart skipping. What did you see? Everything. Your mother, the child on Titan 8. The voices you tried to silence. He turned away ashamed. I never asked you to look. You did not have to. Your body screamed louder than your mouth. Silence fell between them. Only the soft breathing of the forest filled the air like whispers on water. Then Ryle said, what did it feel like? Lyra closed her eyes. Like standing in fire that did not burn, like falling without fear, like pain that remembers love. Ryle sat down again beside her. You risked everything to heal a stranger. Why? Because you listened when I said do not eat me, and you smiled not like you think you said, and I believed you. They both laughed softly. It was the first laugh in days. Short, real, alive, but then the scanner blinked again. Ryle looked down. 3 new signals closer. Now moving fast. They are inside the forest now, he said. Yes. Lyra stood slowly, her strength returning bit by bit. The blood bond awakens, something not just in you. In them, they can sense us. Then what do we do now? Ryle asked. She looked up through the trees, her eyes shining bright. Now we prepare to give them something they have never known, hope, and a reason to fear it. The forest turned quiet again, not the calm kind, but the warning kind. Even the breathing roots pulled deeper into the ground like they knew what was coming. Captain Ryle crouched behind a thick stone trunk, aiming his rifle at the northern path. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes closed, her hands glowing faint silver as she whispered into the air in her native tongue. They are near, she said. 3 hunters, maybe more. Their minds are shielded, but I can still feel the hunger behind the walls. How long do we have? Ryle asked. How long? They do not need to search. They are following the bond. They feel what you feel, then I better feel angry. Lyra gave him a tired smile that will help. Ryle tapped the side of his helmet, bringing up his last drone feed. The forest canopy had broken in one area as a sleek black ship descended through the clouds. No lights, no markings. No sound. Predators designed for one task, erase and vanish. The feed cut out with a flicker. They are jamming signals. No help is coming. No one is even listening. Ryle turned to Lyra. You said the forest speaks to minds. Can it scream? Only if we give it something to scream about. They moved fast, setting traps between the roots, using power cells from the crashed escape pod. They made noise where noise should not be, and silence where silence should scream. Then they waited. Time passed, slow and heavy, each second louder than the last. Then came the first sign, a shimmer in the air like heat without fire. Like glass bending under pressure, Ryle fired. The blast hit something mid-air. Sparks flew and a figure dropped to the ground uncloaked, and snarling its armor cracked, and it stood with long limbs and a head shaped like a dagger. It growled a word Ryle could not understand, but it felt like a curse. Then more shimmered into view, 2 more hunters stepping out of the bending air, like ghosts turning solid. Lyra raised both hands and shouted a word that made the trees shake. The forest responded. Roots erupted from the ground, grabbing one of the hunters, pulling it back, screaming in static voice. The other raised a weapon and fired a blue beam that cut through the forest. It missed Ryle by an inch and melted a boulder behind him. Ryle ran forward, firing into the chest of the nearest hunter, but the armor held the hunter backhanded him, sending him crashing into the dirt. Pain shot through his ribs, but he stood up, coughing blood. He grabbed a pulse mine from his belt and slammed it into the ground. The blast hit all 3 targets. Only one fell. One was gone, and one was walking toward Lyra. She stood still, her eyes locked on the hunter, who stopped in front of her, weapon raised. She spoke one word, then opened her palm. Her blood floated into the air, glowing brighter than before. The hunter froze its weapon, lowered, then it screamed and fell to its knees, holding its head like it was breaking. From the inside, Lyra fell to breathing hard. Ryle reached her, just as the last hunter reappeared behind them. It raised its blade. Ryle turned fast and fired point blank into its chest. The blast burned straight through, and it collapsed without a sound. Silence again. Real this time, the kind earned after chaos. Ryle helped Lyra up. She was cold and shaking, but she was alive. You used your mind on them, he said. No, I used yours. The bond works both ways now. They felt your rage, your fear, your love. He blinked, surprised. Lyra looked away, her voice low. Even when you try to hide it, it burns louder than your hate. Ryle looked around at the broken hunters, the scorched trees, and the glowing roots that had calmed again. We survived, he said. For now. Lyra pointed toward the sky. But that was only a scout team. The real storm is coming, and Earth is next. The air smelled like smoke and ash, but the sky above was calm again. Captain Ryle sat near a dying fire. His hands scratched his armor, cracked, and his mind heavier than his bones. Lyra lay next to him, her eyes half open, her skin dimmer than before, like a fading star. You should have left me, she whispered. Never, Ryle said. I made a choice, and I will keep it. She looked at him for a long moment. There was silence, but not emptiness, only the weight of everything they had seen and everything still to come. They will send more. Lyra said, they will not stop until I'm gone, or you are. Let them come, Ryle said, and meant it. He looked at his hands. They still carried traces of her blood from when she had healed him, and yet he still felt broken, not in the body, but in the soul. He stood slowly and walked to the edge of the clearing. The forest no longer whispered. It watched. Ryle stared into the shadows and spoke. Maybe you should eat me after all. Lyra blinked weakly. What, that is what you said the first time? Do not eat me, human. And I smiled. Not like you think. Well, maybe now you should. Lyra tried to sit up, but her strength was fading fast. What are you saying? Ryle turned to face her. You gave me your blood, your gift, your pain. I felt it change me. Not just my body, but my thoughts, my heart. And I saw your memories, your joy, your fear, your loss. It broke me open, and I think that is what it means to be human. To feel everything and still keep going, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Lyra smiled faintly. Then you already taste like one of us. Ryle walked back to her and knelt down. He placed her hand on his chest. You saved me more than once. Now it is my turn. He pulled out a data crystal from his pocket. This holds the last open access channel to Earth. Once it activates, the signal will reach the Council. They will know what you are. They will come for you. Lyra frowned. That is a death sentence. Not if I tell them the truth. Not if I make them see what I see. And if they do not listen, she asked, then I make them. He stood up and placed the crystal into the beacon. It began to hum low and steady. The message was transmitting coordinates, vital data, proof of her blood, and what it could do. Ryle turned to Lyra and spoke clearly. If they want to use you, they will have to go through me. Lyra looked at him with something that might have been sorrow, or love, or both. Then she closed her eyes and the beacon pulsed. Once the signal was out far away in the stars, a listening post blinked to life. And Earth received the message. Back on the planet, the fire had gone out. But something else had lit within the forest, a spark, not just of rebellion, but of understanding. Lyra opened her eyes again and whispered, they will come, and they will ask for more. They always do. Ryle sat beside her and nodded. Then we show them what more really means. Not power, not control, not fear, but choice, connection, truth. She leaned her head on his shoulder and spoke the last word, soft as wind. Human, And for the first time, Ryle believed it not as a title, but as a bond. The Earth Council chamber stood tall, and cold metal walls stretched like silent monuments under the artificial sky. Inside, leaders from every faction watched a hologram flicker in the center of the room. It showed her Lyra eyes, glowing voice calm. Blood capable of healing death itself. Next to her stood Captain Ryle. His voice filled the room. This is not a weapon. This is a life, and I will not let you destroy it. Silence fell after his words. Then came questions. Demands, threats. Some wanted her detained. Others wanted her blood studied and stored. Few spoke of trust. Even fewer spoke of peace. Back on the planet, Lyra waited inside the forest where no machines dared walk. She could feel them now. The minds of men reaching across space, judging her without knowing her. She felt Ryle's thoughts too. They were louder than the rest, strong and full of fire. Not anger, but something deeper, a promise. Soon a ship arrived, not a warship, but a diplomatic carrier marked with the flags of Earth. Ryle stepped out first. No guards, no weapons. He walked through the forest like he belonged to it. Lyra met him at the edge, where light touched shadow. They spoke without words. Then together, they walked to the clearing, where the delegation waited, men and women in polished suits, with cold eyes and hidden fear. The lead envoy stepped forward and spoke. You are not registered. You are not controlled. You are a risk. Lyra tilted her head. I am not a machine. Ryle stepped between them. She has a choice. Let her speak it. The envoy looked at her. Well then. What do you want, Lyra? Looked up at the sky. So many stars. So much silence between them. I want no one to be afraid when they see me. I want to walk into light without being hunted. I want to help, not because I am told, but because I choose. You want freedom? Yes. You want to live among us? No. Then, what do you want? To show you something. She held out her hand. A seed rested on her palm, glowing faint green. This is part of the Gravewood. It connects life across worlds. It listens. It remembers. She pressed it into the soil at her feet. The earth pulsed softly. Roots grew in seconds. A small tree rose from the ground. Its leaves shimmered with light. This is what my people fear. Growth, connection, change. They believe mercy is weakness, but I have tasted something else. She looked at Ryle. Humanity. The envoy stepped back, unsure, uncertain. One of the others asked, what do you want in return? Nothing. Then, why help us? Because he smiled and said, not like you think. Because when I was afraid, he did not use me. He sat beside me. He listened. She stepped back, and the tree behind her opened like a doorway. Its light spilled across the clearing, warm and real. You can come through if you wish, but only if you believe not all power must be owned. Ryle looked at the envoy. Your call? They hesitated. Then, one by one, they stepped forward. Not as soldiers, not as rulers, but as people. The light welcomed them. The tree closed after above the planet. Stars shifted, ships changed course, war signals went silent. Peace was not declared, but something more dangerous was understanding. Back in the forest, Lyra and Ryle stood together. The sky was no longer just black. It was full of meaning, of questions, of hope. She turned to him. You still think I am alien? He smiled. Not like you think.